to the Lordsburg Municipal Schools Regular School Board meeting, January 18th, 2021. Welcome everybody again. Would you please stand wherever you are and say the pledges with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you, guys. Again, welcome. Hope everybody's doing good. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as written.
This is Susie. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Motion by Ms. Cole. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. Ms. Esquivel.
Second by Ms. Esquivel. Thank you. I'll poll all the board members for your vote. Is Mr. Gomez on?
Yes, sir.
Not yet.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Your vote, please, to approve the, okay.
Yes.
Ms. Esquivel?
Yes, aye.
Ms. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Barrera?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carries. Reminder, only the items on the approved agenda will be discussed tonight, okay? Just a little reminder on that. Item number 3, approval of minutes for the regular meeting of December 21st, 2020.
This is
Any
Esquivel.
questions or comments on that?
No, sir. This is
Go ahead.
Esquivel. I'll approve the minutes.
There's a motion by Ms. Esquivel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gomez. Thank you. Mr. Barrera?
Aye.
Ms. Cole?
Aye.
Ms. Esquivel?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Action items, discussion and possible action on reorganization of the board. Dr. Lucas, go ahead.
Yes, so the policy we adopted last January with new laws and everything, it said we had to do the board reorganization if the board chooses once a year, you know, in January after the election. So typically, I guess we'll have an election in November and then reorganize in January as everybody comes on. And it's entirely your decision whether you want to reorganize or not. You can leave it as is, or you can reorganize.
Okay, I'd like some comments from the board, please. Any comments or statements, questions on this?
I would like to nominate Susie Cole as president, if that's okay with everybody.
So what you're saying is you want to reorganize tonight then?
Yes, sir, if that's possible, please. Thank you.
That's up to us. If that's what the board wants, we can do that.
I'm okay with reorganizing.
Any comments from the board?
I'm okay as well.
Ma'am?
I'm okay with reorganizing.
So am I, guys. So am I. How about you, Mr. Barrera?
I'm okay either way. I think we've had a great leadership thus far. I'm perfectly fine if we stay the same. I'm perfectly fine if we move forward. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm okay with.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, there's a nomination on the floor, nominating Ms. Cole for president.
I'll second that
Is there a
nomination.
second to
Mr.
that?
Morelos.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. There's a second by Mr. Gomez. All in favor, well, let me poll the board. Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
Ms. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
myself, aye. Ms. Cole,
Aye. I'll need your guidance, sir.
good. So the president, you're the president now, Ms. Cole. Congratulations. So I'm assuming you take over right now since we reorganized tonight. So it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, I will be
Go ahead
seeking
with
your
the,
advice. Okay, so,
No problem. I'm here to help anybody and everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Freddie, for all you do.
Thank you.
Yes.
appreciate you.
You're welcome, guys. It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's a pleasure working with all of you guys. No problem. It's just, I think we're a good team, whoever's president or whatever. Let's just keep this ball rolling forward for everybody involved.
Yes, sir.
So I'll make a nomination to get Mr. Gomez as vice president. I hope you guys accept my nomination.
I will second that motion, Freddie. This is Esquivel.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Cole, are you go ahead and take over now.
Okay,
Go
I'll
ahead.
go ahead and poll the board.
Poll them. You can poll us.
Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
and Ms. Esquivel.
Aye.
Thank you. Edgar will be our new vice president.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Is there any nominations for secretary?
Ms. Cole, I would like to nominate Alyssa as secretary of the board.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Gomez for Mrs. Esquivel as secretary. May I get a second? I'll make that second.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay, Mr. Morelos. Okay, I'll go ahead and poll the board. Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
Ms. Esquivel,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is reports. Dr. Lucas?
Yes, so the operations report's listed first. If y'all have any questions on that, that is Ryan's report. And if not, we can move on to the building reports.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Lucas on the administrative operations report?
No, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Lucas.
Okay, so building reports, we'll start with RVT with Dr. Amador.
Mr. Morelos, thank you for all of your work, and Ms. Cole, welcome, and we look forward to working with you. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Members of the board, Dr. Lucas, my reports, it's constant and it's consistent, but there's a little bit of focus on this one, and really what we're looking to do is academic support equals student support and vice versa. We want to make sure that our kids, we're being very strategic in the teaching now that we've compressed our schedule. So teaching is very strategic. It's aligned to standard really tightly from what I've seen in the last couple of days. And then looking at the SAT and RTI process, how are we intervening with our kids, and how strategic is it, and how it's aligned to the SAP process or the intervention process at the school. So we're really going to tighten up on that. I know parents always want to know what that means, and we want to really be able to spell that out so that they can continue to help us at home. When we're getting, we've seen some really good things. A lot of people are concerned about learning loss. There's some norms that have been lost. I think obviously there's no face-to-face, there's no that interaction, but I want to continue focusing on the student and the family. It is a lot of work, but I think the relationships that we've been able to establish stronger in the community has really been to our benefit. So just kind of going through the report, our focus is focusing on the student and their academic needs, and it's kind of detailed in there. One of the most important things I think is the relevance in what we're doing, and we're going to start striking up those college and career conversations with the little guys. They often wonder, and I've seen some of them like, why are we here and what are we doing? And we want to make sure that they know that, you know, when I was their age, I wanted to be a fire truck, and it didn't really work out for me. I didn't end up being a fire truck, unfortunately, but here I am, and I want to make sure that they have an idea of what they're doing moving forward and their purpose in education and what the purpose of education is for them. So that's basically what we're focusing on. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
I really
have
like
a comment, Dr. A.
Oh,
Go ahead, Mr. Morelos.
Okay, thank you. On the college and career conversations, I really appreciate that, because there's even some high school kids that nowadays aren't even thinking of what they want to do. So as soon as you get these kids thinking of their careers and what they want to do, that is awesome. That is great.
and if you can imagine, they'll be writing by the end of the year. All the kiddos at RVT will have written a letter to their favorite college or of choice, even if it's their favorite college football team. And then when they get those responses in the mail from the colleges, it'll be unreal. So I'm setting that up, but I think that's an important aspect of what we do at the elementary. Thank you.
That's awesome. So, thank you.
Mr. Gomez, you had something you'd like to add?
Yes, ma'am. I was gonna say the same thing Mr. Morelos said. I really appreciate that you're doing that. It's good to think ahead, and I really like that
Thank
idea.
you.
Yes, I appreciate all the work you guys have done,
Thank you.
and to start planting that seed in their little minds right now and get it
Yes, ma'am.
growing. It'll be great opportunity for them later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Dr. Lucas?
Okay. Mr. A, at DTMS and Central.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas, Board President Cole, new officers, members of the board, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this night. I will make a comment. I do think you're a good group and you work well together. And so that makes our life a lot easier as the building principal. So thank you for all your support and just listening to us. It makes a big difference. To follow along with Adam, you know, we do talk a lot. We try to figure out what we think is best, and he's right on as far as career awareness and readiness. He's right there, and it does start, you know, at the younger age, and then you move it up through the middle school. We do four-year plan, and we do some of that beginning at the 8th grade, but I think that we need to get a little more in depth, and hopefully when we come back to school, we will update that process and move forward. I'm also working on our SAT team and the RTI process. We want to do a better job of identifying those kids that are struggling and going through the interventions that are a must to figure out where they're struggling, why they're struggling, and how to make that better. And so that's just something that I'm also working on and trying to get that through, because I do see that issue, and it's magnified now when we're in remote learning, because a lot of kids do struggle. We don't have that one-on-one or the small group as much. And so it is an issue, but if we work on it, and I work on it as best as I can long-term, I think it'll work out better. In my report, I just went over a few things that I thought were important that I needed to focus on with staff. And so in the first one, I just wanted to go over teacher expectations. And these have been sent out to staff, and it just couple of things that within my philosophy that I really believe in. And the first thing is, all students can learn from the ground up, and all of our kids can learn. And so I want to focus on that. Again, high expectations for all students. With the remote learning, we just need to be to develop patience and be patient not only with the kids but with parents and families, because their struggle is our struggle as well. Being flexible, especially at the middle school. You talk about having to be flexible because things just happen in an instant, and so I think that's important. Reinforce being good listeners, good observers, especially through remote, because you can tell when a student gets the concept and when they don't. And so that's probably a good idea. And then just to focus it, when we go into the classroom during remote learning, we are actually the guests in the building, and I want my staff to be aware of that. And last but not least is to focus on the positive. It's really easy to focus on the negative things going on, but it's better to focus on positive and get those results, because at least that way you're not trying to catch kids doing something wrong. You're trying to reinforce what they do right. And most of our kids do a lot of good things on a daily basis, and so we have to practice that. Just give them some tips on what I look for and what I did when I used to design lessons. And then last but not least, the use of best practices in teaching and what we need to focus on. Just clear communication, and then building and maintaining those positive relationships with our kids, but not only them, with parents and with families as well. And, if you have kids that like you and get along with you, then you have them in the palm of your hand, because they will do the work, and you just have to reinforce that. So that being said, it's open for questions. Any comments that you would like to ask me?
Ms. Cole, I do have something. Mr. A, I really admire you for including flexibility in there. I think more than ever that's something that we need right now, and I really like that you include that in your plan.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Ms. Cole, I have a statement, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Again, Mr. A, thank you for all your detailed reports. I really appreciate that. The clear communication to me with students and staff is great. I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Cole, I have one more thing. I just wanted to let the board know that Mr. A and I will be working on a grant. We're looking at the possibility of $6,000 to replace books at the library over at the Dugan. And I just want to remind the board that we still have little guys out there, little guys and girls, and trying to do the best for them.
Thank you.
Great. That's
Just
awesome.
real quick, I'd like to piggyback off of what Edgar was talking about, that first statement. I think it's awesome that you're including the flexibility of what it's like for them to be at home, and especially that last bullet point in the second section of what adjustments do I need to make in learning environment, specifically in remote learning, so that learning is efficient. I think that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
The thing I want to move into,
My son sits in front of the computer all day as well, so I see him, and it gives me a pretty good idea of what's going on. So I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. That's what I'm worried about, is because it's going to come up later when we talk about remote learning and going back to school and stuff. And you got it down here in that last section. It says the goal is to prevent students from losing ground during remote learning. And I'm just curious as to what you think, how far have we lost? It's on everyone's mind, how significant of ground have we lost in it?
Well, if you stop and think of when we went to remote learning, it was March 15th of last year. So we lost that 2.5 months, And then, throughout the summer, and then now, we're in remote learning. And so there has to be an urgency with that. And so I would say anywhere from 3 to 9 months at this point, maybe a year by now for some kids. But of course, it's not all lost. We still have time to make some of that up. And so we just have to keep working and focusing on what we do in a positive way, simplifying things and making it a better situation for our kids, but also supporting our staff in that matter. So I appreciate the questions and the comments, and something we'll continue to work on as principals, all three of us, because we also work well together. And we do talk a lot, and we're trying to focus on that and trying to make things better for all of our kids from K through 12. So again, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're just looking for all the insight, as much as we could get. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Lucas?
Scott, at the high school?
All right. Hey, well, good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody, and congratulations on all the reorganization of the board. So we'll keep on working together. Here at the high school, we're just continuing kind of what everybody's talking about, continuing to try to find ways to better assist our kids. I know this wasn't in the board report, but just, we were, 70% of our students passed, and then 30% of our students had 2 or more Fs for this last second quarter. Now, compared to last year, it's really not a huge difference. The issues that we're having, or the concerns we're having, is trying to find ways to get that 30% of students with more than 2 Fs, to, at least 1 F, or to get straight Ds, and the sad thing about the 30% of our students who received 2 more Fs is that it wasn't, in my opinion, because of instruction, because of workload, because of teacher availability. It's just that teachers have cut back. Students have a hard time, or, how you want to, I'm trying to say it nicely, don't get back with the teachers after class or after school. And out of that 30%, 98% of those Fs were because students did nothing. They didn't do no work. There was zeros after zeros. And, teachers are really working hard, even with during this remote learning, adjusting how they are giving out grades for students to help them be successful. But there's really only so much they can do whenever they're not getting any work turned in. And so that's our concern and our focus, really, for, not even for remote learning, because this was similar to last year when we were live in the first half. So, it's just our focus to try to find something of how we can get our kids to understand that, to be accountable, show up on time, be accountable, do the work that's provided for you, ask for help, because that's one of the, like when I talk to kids, and they kind of tell me that they're afraid to ask or they don't want to ask, but I tell them that, and I tell this in a way that they understand, that's the most stupid thing we can do, because the smartest thing anybody can do is ask for help. I ask for help every day. I'm always talking to people and asking for help. So, we want to get that point across to our students, and it's just hard. We don't, the emails and the contacts with parents that I make are, with the same, they're the same contacts over and over, and we just don't seem to be making anything different. So we're trying little different things in the classrooms. We're trying different things to contact kids, with, if they need support, to try to make them understand how important it is. And we're just moving forward with that, because it is important for us to try to make sure that our kids understand the importance of just being a responsible student when they leave Lordsburg High School, and it all just, it's not about getting A's F's. It's about doing the parts in between, being accountable, being respectful, doing the best you can, then you go out into the world and, things can take off from there. But I'm just, we're just struggling on how to find that key, to kind of get that ball rolling. But, we're, like I say, we're doing different things this semester or this 9 weeks, and we'll see how it works and see if we see any improvement. But other than that, we're, hey, we're doing the best we can and looking forward for, everybody getting vaccinated and seeing how that's going to work out, and then just moving forward. And sports, I mean, I'm not going to take Hooper's thunder here, but sports are starting, so we're starting to practice and things like that. So we'll just see how it goes, and hopefully we can get kids more motivated and involved and just out and about, and we'll see how that goes. But I don't know how the sports is going to end up. But before I go any more and steal Hooper's things, I'll stop right there. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Madam Chair, I have a statement to make.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Robertson, again, and all administrators, thank you for all your reports. I can see in your reports that everybody, to me, the main thing is communication, and keeping that communication between staff and students and parents. That I appreciate a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
I'd like to add something as well. As Mr. Morelos said, I appreciate the efforts that the administrators and the teachers are taking in the lanes that they're going to notify parents and students, missing assignments, and giving them the opportunities to catch up or to make up or to, any effort that they're doing. And these kids need to grasp that and appreciate the fact that they're given these extra opportunities, because if they were in person to person, these opportunities wouldn't be there. And they need to realize that these are gifts that they're receiving, and they need to relish these gifts right now and appreciate that they're getting an education, and that you guys are doing the best you can, and you guys are struggling, looking for different avenues to get these kids through school and educated. So thank you to all of you and all of the staff for everything that you do each and every day.
Amen.
One thing, Ms. Cole, I was just curious about how the Zoom meetings with I think you have like one-on-one parents whose students are struggling, to see if we could start moving in the right direction. I know if I was in school, that would have got me going when my parents get a call. So I'm just curious to see how it's going.
Well, it's not as successful as we'd like it to be, but it's still like a new avenue, and we're still trying to just, during those conversations and during the emails and contacts, we're just still trying to find ways to, kind of like asking, like I'm asking you, what do you think we can do to help your kid, and we're all kind of at a loss for words, or not. We don't really have the correct answer, but I just think if we just keep moving forward on that way, we can hopefully something will come out of one of our discussions, and it can help everyone else, just learning from everybody. So
thank you, sir.
Sir, Ms. Cole, this is Edgar. I was going to add something. I also appreciate the flexibility, again, that you guys are doing at the high school. I do want to remind all principals that we currently do have a tutoring program going through the Juvenile Community Corrections out of Hidalgo County. So if there's any students that you feel that could utilize this program, Ms. Montiel is doing our math, and Ms. Lopez is doing our reading, and they're awesome. They were both hired by JJCS, and let's take advantage of the resources. If you guys feel that that they would be a good candidate for the program, you guys could reach out to Dr. Lucas, Miss Tisha Green, or Laura McDonald to get a referral in. and I know that these two ladies can reach out and will go and will help the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
I think-
questions or comments?
Thanks, Mr. Gomez, on that. I mean, I know I've heard about that. I just, you know, sometimes it helps when somebody outside, you know, I can tell my kids something and they'll look at me like whatever, and then they'll go and somebody will tell them the same thing and they'll be like, that's the greatest idea ever. And so, you know, maybe this might be a good idea, you know, to just have somebody from the outside helping them out. So appreciate it.
Yes, and they are available. They will work with the student schedule. They will work with parents. They are available. It's working for the students who are taking advantage of it, and they're available for any grade, any student that is attending public education in Hidalgo County. I believe that they're even helping kids out of the Animas district. I could be wrong, but I believe that there's a couple of referrals from out there. And just know that we're here, and I really appreciate something that you said, and it's good to remind kids that it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't make you any less. Just I ask for help every single day. If I don't understand something, I ask. Sometimes we have to put that pride aside and remember what's best for us. And it's okay for us not to know everything, and it's better to ask for help and get the right and appropriate guidance to make sure that we're doing things the right way. And this is just in life in general. It's okay to reach out and not to know something and ask for help. So I appreciate you instilling that into our students.
Miss Cole, this is Miss Esquivel. I had a couple of things. You know, maybe to get these kids motivated, maybe we can send them like perfect attendance awards, you know, like certificates to show them that we are paying attention, you know, honor roll, any little thing to get these kids motivated, you know, will, you know, put a smile on their face because they received a certificate in the mail. I don't know, maybe there's, you know, something that we could figure out with the administrators and teachers.
Idea.
Ms. Esquivel, Mr. Almanza, we're already working on that on our end. There at the elementary and middle schools, but any help you can give us is much appreciated.
Oh, well, thank you guys. I appreciate all of you guys. I know it's very hard right now with remote learning. You know, it's a struggle every day at my house. So, you know, we're trying to be positive like all of you guys. So thank you again.
Alyssa, I think that's an awesome idea, and maybe depending on the age, we could do something that's appropriate for the age level, and maybe gas cards, or if there's anything that we could do. And I understand that this is what they have to do, but on our side, any efforts that we could make to get them going, I'm all up for it.
Count me in. I'll help any way I can.
Me too. Thank you everyone for all the ideas and suggestions. We got to keep our kids going, and maybe incentives is the way to go.
Good work.
Any other questions or comments? If not, Dr. Lucas?
Coach Hooper, athletics?
Yes. I first of all, happy Martin Luther King Day. Great holiday today. You know, I don't know. I've been hearing everyone. I kind of got off the thought, but I want to say this thing. You know, we're trying to build full-rounded individuals, you know, and out of our high school, have them come out and they be fully rounded in everything they do, you know, academics and so on. So, and as a person. And I think for a lot of our kids, the things that we're struggling with is our athletics part of it. You know, a lot of our kids, to get that full will, as athletics, it helps build them into that step. And right now, a good chunk of our kids are missing that. You know, all they do, and now all they're having is the academic part of it. They're not having the athletics like they used to have. And I know that's a big one. And I know that for for today, for instance, we started practices. Okay, we're back to practice. Thank God, we're back to practices. Coach Plowman had some girls in coming for the basketball. First time they've touched a basketball since we ended basketball. And my daughter was so excited. It was awesome to see her come in and just excited to be back in the gym. Of course, we're following all the protocols. We're in our pods. We're doing all the protocols for their state, you know. But the kids need that. They need to see each other. They need that competition. I know when we get the balls back on the field, back on the court, things are going to change, and I think it's going to change for the better by far. Obviously, and I know you guys know that. I'm talking to the choir, but we were allowed to start today, and most of our sports, like for instance, volleyball and football, kick off again tomorrow, and February 1st. And I sent you guys the calendar 2 meetings ago. And I thought I sent you 2, and that's on me because we had 2 calendars, but I sent you the right one. So that's a good thing because they had 2 calendars, which one they were going to go off of. And I thought I sent 2, but I didn't. I only sent 1, and I sent you the right one. So see, I was smart on that one. And so you guys did get 2 meetings ago. You got the right calendar of what we're going with, and we start February 1st football, and we're going to go. The 19th is the first games. Volleyball will start the 15th, and obviously everything can change with our governor. And you guys know that she could pull the plug or pull the rug right out from beneath us anytime. We're having meetings tomorrow. We're having a football meeting for all the football coaches in the state, and then we're having another meeting for ADs on Thursday. And I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot today, but Robertson got me really thinking a lot of things that's been happening with the athletic directors. You know, we have a lot of meetings with the NMAA, talk about our issues, what we've got to address to have our kids successful. And I talked a lot about grades and about how our kids are really hurting on grades. And it was amazing how many coaches stepped up. And I'm not going to mention the school because that's probably not proper, so I won't mention it. But there was another school stepped up, and he said he had 450 freshmen, and they're something like that, 4 something. Coming in to what's in their school right now. Out of that 450, over 230 plus of them have 2 Fs or more. And so we're not the only one battling this fight right now, you know. So it's and I know teachers, and I know our teachers are getting frustrated when and Robertson, because we're trying to get our kids motivated. And the only thing I could say is I'm praying like heck we can get our kids back on the court, and we could actually start trying to get them motivated to do something maybe that way. And that's not all the kids, obviously. I'm just talking about a few of the kids, because there's a lot of kids that, yeah, we're gonna have to do some stuff a little different. But athletic wise, I think I covered it all on the dates and what we're doing. You guys have questions for me, I'll answer anything you want. So I'm sorry for rambling on. That's your fault, Robertson. So
thank you, Coach, for your detailed report. I agree with you. The kids need something to go, you know, to look forward to and get their grades up. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. I whatever we could do to motivate our students, as long as we keep them safe, I hope it works out. I really do.
Yeah. And you know, something real quick, all the board members, you guys are all getting your bus driving licenses. That's what Ryan, I think, said to me. Just throwing that out there. Is that right?
No, thank you.
I was actually going to ask that. How's that going with the coaches? I think that was in the operations report.
Yeah, I know I volunteered. I would do everything I can because, you know, Psfa was a bus driver, and now that we don't have him, that's hurt us a lot, you know. And I told him I absolutely would do whatever I need to do to get my bus license. And I know a lot of coaches would, but anyway, I thought all the board was up for driving the bus.
No, thank you. No, thank you, sir. I've done my duty.
Hey man, you've gone beyond the call of duty for our town of Lordsburg. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Dr. Lucas, is this something that we could put out there as an incentive to recruit drivers?
We have been working on that to get the coaches started, but right now my understanding is it's been very, very difficult to get the training scheduled. They require X amount of trainings they get. So, because we started on this last year before the pandemic, but after the pandemic hit, we couldn't get the training scheduled because this is something we've been seeing we need. But as soon as we can get the trainings, I think almost every coach we have is willing to get the training and get certified.
And that's something that we could pay for them, correct?
Yes, it won't cost them anything. And also, I think in the past, they didn't pay, if a coach had the license, they didn't pay him, because he was a coach and he was already traveling there. But in my mind, if they're driving students and it's after the school day, they need to be paid for that trip.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
I mean, 'cause it's not fair to expect them to not be paid for. I mean, when somebody else would be paid for that position.
I agree.
Yes, sir.
I think everybody should be compensated for their services.
Yes.
Driving students, I mean, that's one of our things, keeping our students safe. So definitely.
This is Esquivel. I know this is probably going forward and everything, but with the traveling time, the traveling day, how is it going to look like with kids being separated 6 feet apart? Being with the mask all day is it's gonna stink a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. And Coach, what have you? I mean, as right now, they have to be separated. They have to wear masks. They have to. It may take more buses just to get the kids somewhere so we can maintain distance.
It is. Well, I don't know if you'll have to when season starts, you're going to have your team together, but you'll have to do the your mask and all that, because see, once season start, you're not going to be in pods of 4 to 1, right? You're going to have to have practice. I mean, I got to have 11 kids on a field at one time, for instance, and so they're going to have let us practice. I don't think the masks are ever going to be out. I don't know if they're going to make them like football players. I don't know if they're going to make them wear them under their helmet or not. I don't know that part. Or if they have to maybe put a face shield on or something. But the bus, I'm telling you, it's a lot of, and no one's really answered them questions yet. I've heard other coaches or other athletic directors ask those things, and those are issues that we're gonna have to deal with. And not just that. Okay, man, there's a lot of things we're gonna have to overcome, because if everything goes like it planned, okay, say for instance, our governor comes out this week and postpones, which a lot of people think that she's going to. She's going to postpone everything 2 weeks, which that will be fine as we're still all going to have our sports, but that's going to overlap our other sports dramatically. So a kid will be doing basketball practice, say in the morning, football in the afternoon, and then for a male, right? He's our volleyball, whichever one it may be for girls. And then they might be gone on a Tuesday, Thursday for basketball, and then gone that Friday or Saturday for football, volleyball. So imagine how much time we're going to be. Man, the kids are really going to have to bust. But I think they're ready for it. That's going to be a great challenge. I don't know. I'm worried about the grades of what I'm coming. The whole point of that is, but I think they're ready for the challenge. So those are things we're going to have to tackle when it comes. So the bus. Yes, I'm sorry, but I'm rambling on. I'm sorry. The bus thing is an issue we're going to have. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Hooper.
Yeah.
You've been a champ through this, trying to get these kids back out there, but
yes,
it'll happen. It will happen.
Yes,
I'm gonna stay positive.
Yeah, we're all praying. We're all praying. I know the kids are excited, guys. I had a great Zoom meeting today, and it was unbelievable, man. The kids are they're so motivated right now to want to come back and play for state championships. They're just, it's amazing. And I think this is what we need right now. We need this so bad. I pray the Lord that that they allow us to go ahead and see what happens, so we'll see.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, Dr. Lucas?
Yes, just on the truancy report, we had 134 contacts for the month of December, and that was before Christmas break. So that was only 3 weeks of the month, and we had 134 contacts. And we call, and we've got Engaged New Mexico, which is an organization hired by the state that calls and tries to coach and mentor kids. We tried to add more kids onto that, because we get truancy issues. We've tried to get more, and in the Engaged New Mexico, but they said the state's put a limit and they quit letting us put new people on there. So they're only working with the ones we've originally had. So I don't know if the state is reducing funding to it, but anyway, they're not letting us add any more kids to it. And that's about it on truancy.
Dr. Lucas, I had one question.
Sure.
On the kids that never returned to school, do we know anything about them?
Most of them, like some withdrawn for homeschool, some have enrolled elsewhere, and in some we have no idea. And that is another thing, but it's not really, I guess it could be part of truancy, but we're partnering with the Graduation Alliance, which will start, I just signed the PO last week. So here in the next week or two, we'll get rolling with any kids that have dropped out or not on our rolls in grades 6 through 12. They'll be contacted by the Graduation Alliance and offered a chance to enroll back into our school and go through their online curriculum. So they would be logged, they would be registered as our student. And basically we would get the money from the state for that student, but the Graduation Alliance would be the ones that would actually be the teacher. And it's an asynchronous. So, like we had issues with people not wanting, or the E2020, with the regimented schedule the way it is. So this way, they still have to make progress, but they're only enrolled in 2 courses at a time. It's more at their convenience and more at their pace than what it is in the traditional school. So,
is there going to be a limit to that, Dr. Lucas? Like how many kids we could have in that? Or?
No, the only thing is they already have to be out and in homeschooling or have dropped out. Like we can't enroll kids that are in school now because then that takes away money from us.
Are we paying
But if
graduation?
they're already out and we're not receiving money, this will get money. We still won't get money for them. Because we'll turn around and hand it to the Graduation Alliance, but it will get them back on our rolls and ready to go. And then that's another discussion we'll need to discuss is, do we want to let them, participate in sports and stuff like that, which I don't have a problem with that at all. Because they're on our rolls. They're
okay.
So,
Ms. Cole, I really believe that we need to keep on top of this. We need to do anything that we could do to prevent these kids. Maybe they already fell through the cracks, but just so we don't lose them. We need to make sure on their education, but I think it's also a responsibility on their well-being. So I think this is something that we need to really keep up with.
I think so. We need to make sure our kids are getting educated and that parents aren't just neglecting to send them. Well, thank you. And I'll get with Dr. Lucas on that.
And I just want to say also, I think Tammy does a great job. I also want to thank the secretaries at the schools, Josie, Rosa, Ms. Woodard. Thank you for keeping my kids, on check. But thank you for all the help that you guys are doing in making sure that we're calling the kids and making sure that they know that we haven't forgotten about them. So I appreciate you guys for that.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Okay, next on the agenda is public forum, which we don't have. Dr. Lucas, Board of Education issues.
Right. So February 10th through 13th, New Mexico School Board Association has their virtual institute. And that's one they normally have in Santa Fe. If you want to go and hadn't already notified, we let myself or Barb know so we can get it, because it's I think it's about $100 per person to get you enrolled. So we need to get a PO in and get it set up for you. But just as soon as you can get that done, so we can get you set up and you can start enrolling in classes. There's a copy of the agenda and the classes offered, I think, in the packet.
I'm in, Dr. Lucas.
Dr. Lucas, I'll let you know by the end of the week. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, by the end of the week, I'll give you an answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. Dr. Lucas?
The first is the accounts payable and payroll liability. If you have any questions on any of the text.
Any questions on, sorry, I got something in my throat. On payroll liability transactions?
Not for me, ma'am.
There's no questions. I will entertain a motion to accept the payroll liability transactions.
I
as
so move.
presented.
I so move, Madam Chair. This is Morelos.
Motion by Mr. Morelos. May I
I'll
get a
second
second?
I'll second
Okay.
that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Gomez. I'll do roll call. Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
myself, aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, Dr. Lucas, B, approval of budget adjustment requests.
Right, and we have 3 bars. Let me double check to make sure my count's right. And the first one in your packet is just a transfer bar. It's not an increase or decrease. Our workers' compensation premium went up by $1,600. So we had to pull that money out of our advertising fund to cover that, to offset that, just because of the premium increase. The next one is a bar decrease. There was pre-K, so we still have, if you notice, we have 219,000 for pre-K. This is an adjustment of $5,000. We still keep the same amount, but we're just, that particular fund went elsewhere. So it reduced the general supplies and materials out of that fund by $5,000. The next one is a small grant Ms. Arredondo wrote. So it increases our homeless budget that we have by $1,236. And so that's a increased bar. And then the next one is a student. We've approved this a couple of times. First we approved it, and then we didn't have the contract, so PED didn't approve it. And then we had you approve the bus contract, and then they readjusted the amount. But anyway, we were off. PED gave us the wrong amount, gave Transportation Department the wrong amount. So they did not approve the ones we did last month, and we have to redo it for, and this is for the purchase of a bus we've already bought. But this is for federal funds or for the money from the state, and it's just a bar adjustment. They gave us the 21,645, and we were off by $900 last month. Although the figures last month were what PED had given us. I mean, that's why we did it, and that's where we got the numbers from. But then when we put it in, had board approve it, when it got back to PED, they disapproved the bar because it was the wrong amount. So this is by PED, hopefully the last time, the correct amount on the bus bar.
This is Morelos. So it was on them, right, Dr. Lucas?
Yes, the $900, the initial amount they sent, I mean, we got the numbers from them, yes. And I don't know where their mistake was. I did not find that out.
Do I have a motion to accept the 4 bars presented by Dr. Lucas?
So move, Madam Chair. This is Morelos.
A motion by Mr. Morelos. Can I get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
Seconded by Mrs. Esquivel. Okay. Roll call, Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Motion carries. Okay, discussion items, Dr. Lucas, policy alert.
Yes, and this is not a new policy. It just goes back to a policy that was amended to let us come up with an alternative demonstration of competence for graduating seniors. And even though this year is unique, this really doesn't take effect until the 2022 school year. So it's basically stating, and I'll get with our attorneys, you know, we have to come up with a plan for an alternative assessment. Should it be needed, you know, like if a student cannot pass the state mandated assessments, we can come up with an alternative assessment. I'll get with our attorneys to double check my understanding, but my reading of this is that this actually takes place for the 2022 school year. So we still have to go with the policy that's in place right now for the graduating seniors this year. And hopefully, I mean, we have not had to use this. I mean, I think we'll be good because our teachers work really well with them. So yeah, it's just, like I said, an alert. And I'll come up, I'll get with our attorneys. We'll have a plan for next school year. And if we can do it this year, we will do it this year as well. But as of right now, they have to do the state-based standards.
A Southside property appraisal.
Yeah, so we finally found an appraiser that's willing to come out here and appraise the Southside property. It will take 5 weeks and $3,000 to do it. That may be more than the property's worth. I don't know, but it's, if you give me direction, I mean, do you want me to appraise it? We do have a letter from the mayor that will be on the agenda next week, wanting the property donated. But we might want to have a value, you know, so we'll know what we're donating. However, we can't get that done by the next board meeting. So that is just kind of your.
Madam Chair, I've got a question. This
Yes,
is
sir.
Morelos. On the appraisal, Dr. Lucas, why is it taking 5 weeks?
Well, that's what he said. I don't know. To me, it shouldn't take that long.
That's what I mean. I mean, I can see the financial part paying whatever the number you just said, but 5 weeks, I don't understand.
Yeah, to me, that seems an outrageous time. I don't know if that's because he's so busy. He did not say, he just said that it would take 5 weeks before it would be done.
Oh, okay. And like I said, I truly believe we need to get some kind of appraisal, see how much it's worth.
Right. And
That's
we'll keep working on it. We'll try to have some numbers by the next board meeting, but I cannot.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Ms. Cole, I would,
Go ahead, Mr. Barrera.
okay. I know we agreed to get it appraised last, I mean, we're coming up maybe a year now. I just think with the request from the city, it's kind of a moot point to get it appraised. If we do end up giving it to the city, then we're wasting $3,000.
Right, because it does not need to be appraised in order to donate.
And that's my only thing with it. I think we should decide whether or not at the same meeting, whether to get it appraised or give it to the city outright. Because if we get it appraised,
we can wait till February, and yeah, that's not.
And if we give it to the city in the future, then it's pointless.
Right.
Ms. Cola, I agree. I agree with what Mr. Barrera said. I just want, and as a reminder, I think for the last 3.5 years, I said that we've needed to get this property appraised. And I'm going on my 4th year here, and this property still stands, no appraisal, no nothing. We'll leave that discussion for next month, but I just want the board to know that I support the mayor in his view for this property. And I think the city's wanting to do a good thing. I did speak to the mayor, but this is also something that the city has to be willing to accept first. So it's something that his council, the city council has to approve. So we would need to wait and see what the city council, because the city council might just say, no, we don't want it. So I think there's still some unanswered questions, but I do feel that the intent of the mayor with this property, it's good.
Mr. Gomez, can we continue that discussion for our February meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? So if it's okay with everyone, we'll just go ahead and continue with the Southside property and a decision for our February meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
I'm fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Dr. Lucas, upcoming school bond election.
Right, we're on track. Ballots will be mailed out on the 20th. There's I think a flyer attached there. You can give me some guidance on what all you want. I mean, because we put down some improvements may include repurposing old central gym, replacement, repair of roof. We did get a repair estimate. Well, that's on an action item, but if there's anything else we need to add in there, because these are just possible projects. It's not saying that we will do each one of these projects. It's just possible projects.
So
Because
can
it
we
all
do,
depends on price and cost and.
can we do beyond those two projects that are listed if?
Well, if we do those two projects, that will take the entire bond.
Okay.
But, we do have the facilities plan. We have SB 9 money we can use for things. And we'll start working on everything little by little, year by year.
But my question is, we're not boxing ourselves into only those two projects, right?
No, because it's not, the question is not worded in a way that's going to limit us to. It just asks if they give us the authority to, and then we listed some projects that we've accomplished in the past with previous bonds, and then we put a couple of items down for this upcoming bond.
Okay.
That may, and it says may, it doesn't say it will, it says it may.
Any questions or comments on the upcoming bond election? If there's no questions or comments, we'll go ahead and go into action items. Dr. Lucas, discussion and possible action on revised salary schedule for certain hourly employees.
We still have remote learning to discuss.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. That's all right. So, the Department of Health and HMS came up, and had a educator vaccination event. It wasn't just for educators, it was first responders and people that hadn't been vaccinated too. And out of ours, I think we had about half of our staff that have signed up. Some got vaccinated Friday, some will get vaccinated Thursday. Even with those vaccinations, by the time they get their second dose and that second dose takes effect, we're looking at about the 1st of March before those that have been vaccinated are fully protected. So that's one thing to look at. The state still has not, they've come out with a new guidelines and they've combined secondary and elementary guidelines, but they still haven't said whether or how we're going to come back. I have a superintendent's meeting on Thursday with PED, with the Secretary of Education, and hopefully they'll let us know. But, as of right now, we can't come back anyway because we're still a red county. They're talking about changing that, but as of now, they have not done that. So just kind of want your feelings and thoughts on the issue.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Ms. Cole, I have 2 things I wanted to say.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Lucas, from some feedback I've been receiving and some firsthand knowledge that I've seen, the second vaccine, and this is not to scare anyone, but the second part of the vaccine, it's making a lot of people ill. It's really wearing them down for 2 to 3 days. And I've seen this firsthand, and it's on, I saw it on nurses, I saw it on doctors. So I just a heads up, I mean, I just don't know when they'll be getting the second vaccine. But just, I think the district needs to be prepared in case we have a lot of people calling out for the day. just as a precaution.
Yes, and we're very low on subs as well. But they did say when I got my shot, I was talking to one of the nurses there, and they said they would try to schedule it for the teachers on Fridays, since we're off, and give you the weekend to recuperate. Whether that will happen or not, or whether they even have it, because we don't know if we'll have the second dose or not. You know, hopefully it'll come through. And hopefully it'll be on a Friday, so that way we'll have the weekend to recuperate.
Any other questions or comments?
This is Esquivel. I don't know where we're at with the cleaning supplies or what each school needs. You know, that's my decision, like, you know, not to go back, you know, because I don't think we are prepared with the supplies that we need for the teachers. I don't know, can you give me some feedback, Dr. Lucas, and see like where we're at with supply wise?
I can get you an inventory of supplies. I mean, our shelves are fully stocked. And we have the spray sanitizers. You know, we got paper towels. I emailed you the inventory, Ryan emailed you the inventory list of all the PPE we have. We can require students to bring their own masks. So, I mean, supply wise, I mean, now we may get started and then have trouble getting more in, but you know, to start, we're okay. But it's the bringing, you know, keeping the supply, keeping it stocked is what I'm concerned about.
And are we distributing these supplies to each?
Right now, I mean, each school gets a little bit right now, but most of them are still having, because we don't really have large populations at campuses.
Okay. And on that sanitizer machine, are we using those in our facilities as well?
As needed, yes.
As needed?
Yeah, like if somebody, that's for, if we have somebody test positive for COVID, then they'll come in and clean and then sanitize that room with a sanitizer.
Is there any way that we could change that? Maybe, you know, there's several teachers in the building, I know, but I don't know how much each of those bottles or how it works, but can we do it like every week to make sure it is being sanitized in each facility to make sure that they're, you know, they're just being safe?
We can, let me talk to Baltazar and see how much we have, because to do it to that extent, I'll have to see how much we have in stock, and if that's, I mean, once school would start, then yes, because that's the plan, you know, to sanitize once a week. But the sanitizer, I mean, just sanitizing is wiping down and everything else. The sanitizer is not a requirement. We bought that as an addition to help enhance, and mainly we bought it for the large, like if they have for the gym and for the large space areas, because it's almost impossible to wipe those surfaces down, you know, to go clean the seats and clean everything. So
yeah, and you know, especially now that, you know, we have some sports going on in the gym, you know, I think it's utilized to use that, but just to keep like our staff members safe, healthy.
I'll double check on that.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? If there's no
Ms.
other, yes, sir.
Ms. Cole, I had another thing I wanted to add, and I wanted to ask Dr. Lucas. So, sir, if the second portion of the faculty was to get this vaccine in the next couple of weeks, let's say everybody will be fully vaccinated by, I don't know, mid-March, or, you know, because you have to wait 2 weeks after your second vaccine.
Right.
So again, realistically, would it be a good move in returning to school for, let's say we plan after spring break, and this is just something I'm throwing out there, for April and part of May?
Yeah, and that would be difficult to bring everybody back for just that month and a half, I think. I mean, that is entirely the board's decision, but right. And I as well, And then I know, I mean, I've been talking to our food service manager, and he's had schools that have come back, shut down, come back, shut down, because, you know, somebody tests positive, or you get 2 positives and they have to shut the building down for X number of days. Teachers go on quarantine. And there's nobody to replace those teachers that are on quarantine. So it becomes a staffing issue. It becomes a pretty big issue if we were to have positive cases in the building once we came back. And it would be difficult, I think, to break everybody's routine for a month or a month and a half.
So,
I
so
agree
those were my concerns. It's the routine that our staff is currently on, the routine that our students have been on. Again, I want nothing more than for things to go back to normal and our kids back in school. Just realistically, like I said, by March, we should be getting all, or the majority of staff will be vaccinated, but it still takes an additional 2 weeks. So realistically, we're looking after spring break, but then it only gives us a month and a half left.
Right.
So I just, I'm not sure, Ms. Cole, and I know we're not making a decision, but those are my concerns. I would hate to keep messing with the consistency that our principals have worked so hard in putting in the time and the effort to just for a month and a half. I just don't know if that would be a good move to make.
Yeah, I don't think it would be either. I think, like Dr. Lucas is saying, you know, to have the teachers and then something happen or the kids, and the consistency with the kids, that yo-yo effect isn't good, and it's just gonna upset their entire routine, not only for the teachers but the students, and then to get the students refocused for that month and a half, it's gonna be like starting over again. So, you know, like I said before, I know a lot of people want their kids back in school, and there's nothing more than I'd like to see my own kids back in school, but for a month and a half, I don't think it's,
Yes, ma'am.
the efforts would be lost. So if there's any other questions, or if there's not, we can go ahead and move on to action items.
Okay. So the first one's, you know, the minimum wage went up and it affected 3 of our cafeteria employees. So we have to have you approve the revised salary schedule for the 3 hourly employees. Brian, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You want to give a little background on that? Just
Yeah, so basically the minimum wage increased effective January 1st, 2020, per the governor's order. And it will increase again next January, and I believe the January after that. And so we actually did have a few employees that were making under this new minimum wage. And so what in effect happened is basically by increasing these individuals that were lower than the minimum wage to be at the minimum wage, the new minimum wage, it affected the salary schedule to where now you might have an employee at, say, step 2 bumped up to the new minimum wage, now making more than someone, say, at step 5. And so what that resulted in was basically having us to redo the salary schedule so that those individuals are making basically the minimum wage kind of adjusted step by step so that it's kind of fair across the board. And the only people that were affected was the food service, and specifically the servers and the cooks. And so we worked with the district to kind of come to an agreement, and we can revisit this again in the springtime when we're doing our annual budget. But did my video cut out?
Oh,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can still see you. You're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry. But we can revisit it in the springtime and when we do our annual budget, and we can fine tune it even more at that time if we want. But for right now, this gets everyone under minimum wage to the state minimum wage, and then also adjust any other cells. And as Dr. Lucas said, I believe only 3 individuals were affected by this change. So,
Brian, would those employees be getting back pay because regardless, or did we make the change on January 1st?
So we did make the change, but we did not pay it out because we did want the board to approve it. And we've notified them all that basically they're going to get what they should have got on the 15th paycheck on this next paycheck. Because of the union and everything, we do want the board approved salary schedules. But we did notify them. I mean, regardless, they're going to get the minimum wage, but they will get basically what they should have got on the 15th plus the increased wage on this next paycheck.
Okay, thank you. I think that's the law, and I think we need to follow it. So
Right,
thank you.
right.
And
Yeah, no problem.
and they deserve it. So definitely.
Thank you, Brian. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the revised salary schedule for certain hourly employees.
I'll make that motion, Ms. Cole.
Mr.
This
Gomez.
is
with the
Morelos,
first.
I'll second it, Ms. Cole.
Mr. Morelos with the second. Mr. Morelos, roll call.
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
myself, aye. Next item is discussion and possible action on amended bus contractor contract.
Right, so this, we had to revise it to match the bar that we just approved. So we have to have it approved as well, and it should be in there.
Is there any questions or comments regarding the fleet service contract?
I'll make a motion, Ms. Cole, to approve.
Motion by Mr. Gomez. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. Esquivel.
Okay. Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Okay, next item, discussion and possible action on PSFA preventive maintenance plan. Dr. Lucas?
Right, PSFA requires us to revise our preventive maintenance plan every few years. And our year was up, so Ryan revised ours, and we need your approval to send it on to the PSFA. And if you want to, if you've looked through it, if you have any questions for Ryan, but it's pretty straightforward.
Any questions from the board for Ryan or Dr. Lucas? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion for the PSFA preventative maintenance plan as written.
So moved, Madam Chair. This is Morelos.
Mr. Morelos with the motion. May I get a second?
I'll second that motion. Esquivel.
I'll roll call Dr. Lucas. Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Okay, next item is discussion and possible action on RFP for DTMS roof.
Okay, so we had an estimate done. It's about $276,000. Unfortunately, where we got the estimate done, they're not part of CES, so we cannot just say okay. We have to go out for RFP or bid to actually hire somebody to repair the roof, and we plan on doing it regardless of passage. I mean, because regardless of passage of bond, it has to be done, and we can use SB9 money if we have to.
Is there any questions for Dr. Lucas regarding the DTMS roof and the RFP? There's no
When will-
questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Gomez.
Oh, when will we be getting a new quote? How fast are we? We don't want
It depends. It depends on how much. I mean, normally we'd give them like say a month or so to do it, or you could. I mean, we could see if we could find. Ryan. Do you think any of those on the CES, the roofers on the CES list, would come out and give an estimate? I mean, because if we can find somebody on CES, then actually we don't have to go out for RFP or bid. We can use because they've already agreed to a set price and it's approved by the state. And it allows us to hire somebody, you know, just based off their bid. But I don't know if it would come in cheaper, you know, we don't know what it would come in because they would probably come out of Albuquerque.
I believe it'd be a lot more expensive if we went that route.
Yeah.
The whole point of the RFP is to give some locals some business because they would be working on that project. So I think it's best to go RFP.
Yeah. And probably a 30-day turnaround time. Yeah.
Ms. Cole, I agree with Ryan. And the only thing I wanted to add, I know we're still a few months away from monsoon season, but just to make sure that we get it taken care of, because you never know delays, and with COVID, we just want to make sure it gets done prior to avoid any more damage.
Yes, sir. I agree. Any other questions or comments from the board? If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion for an RFP for the DTMS roof. If this is the route the board.
I'll make that motion, Ms. Cole.
Mr. Gomez with the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion, Esquivel.
Okay. Mr. Morelos?
Aye.
Mr. Barrera?
Aye.
Ms. Esquivel?
Aye.
Mr. Gomez?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carries. With all items to be discussed and taken care of by the school board, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Chair.